All right, we're live. Welcome back to Code Review Club. Doing some TypeScript today. Forgot to open this. Yeah, so last time we said we were going to do Bob and Matrix. So let me pull those up. Exorcism. I guess everyone can introduce themselves and say hi. Let me bring the screen over.
I'm Evan. Hi.
I'm Ian.
Tyler.
Hi, Steven.
All right. And probably just faster to bring up someone's solution. Do Bob first. Oh goodness, you can see all my tabs. Let me share my screen. Where'd Zoom go? Okay. So Bob is a lackadaisical teenager. In conversation, his responses are very limited. Bob answers sure if you ask him how are you. He answers, whoa, chill out, if you yell at him in all caps. He says, calm down, I know what I'm doing, if you yell a question at him. He says, fine, be that way, if you dress him without actually saying anything. He answers whatever to anything else. Alright, and then, can we see the test in here? You used to be able to.
I think if you go to start an editor, yeah. And there's a test tab.
Yeah. Move that over there. There we go. All right. So they give you an input like tomato, tomata, and Bob should say whatever. Makes sense. And then we just have a bunch of different inputs. All right, Evan, you're up first.
Cool. That was it up. Okay, cool. So basically, I just have a message coming in that's a string. I let the answer be here because we're returning the answer later. And then I decided to use a switch statement just for funsies because usually I do a statement, so I switched it up. And then I have my const contains letters, contains numbers, which is just the regex, which I extracted, so it's not all ugly in there. And then just a bunch of basically switch statements with the various rules and then the responses if they match the rules. One thing I refactored at one point, and I refactored out my bang and my contains numbers, so it looks weird that that's in there, but not. Accidentally instead of having it in the actual thing. But.
Oh yeah, I see down
Yeah,
here.
the bang contains numbers. It's just contains numbers. I just noticed that.
Yeah. Interesting. Curious. I didn't actually do these myself, so I'm kind of coming into this fresh.
Wow, Josh.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
Tyler, you're next.
Yeah, so similar approach. I think I went a little deeper on the regex, but I just created functions at the top. And I'm doing like negative lookups. So yell, it's saying that, testing if the string doesn't have A through Z lowercase and numbers. and so on. And then declaring, I also typed the responses just for the sake of TypeScript. Trimming the string, and then I have a if block handling the logic.
Let me scroll down.
Experimenting with some white space.
Yeah, I definitely think I like the case statement over the if else if. I do like the way you made the functions up here.
Yeah, I tried to go back and refactor into a class, but I don't think you're able to with the tests, how it's set up.
Yeah. Right. Ian?
Yeah, we got some white space there too. Yeah, similar approach, just making some kind of some rules up top, things to reference down later down in my if statements here. Stephen and I went over these after working on them separately, and I refactored this a little bit after our conversation because mine was initially just a bunch of if else, and he schooled me on how to remove the else.
I see. So you're just returning out of every if statement.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's interesting, you like single line if, multi-line if, single line indent style. I think my feedback would be like be consistent if you're gonna use the if statements.
Okay.
We definitely had a conversation about how you hate if statements, Josh.
I don't hate them. It's just if you're going beyond like two kind of branches, it gets weird. What was that?
My initial reflex was to use ifs, but then I knew how much you hated them, so I did the switch.
Well, okay, so this gets weird, right? Because it's like if return, if. So now we're combining like all three of these with two possible returns out of here. Like it just gets hard to read, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're
I like the single line if return statements, like the top one there.
Yeah.
I like a lot.
Yeah.
Those are just like English to me. Like it's just like it's not like any more code.
I totally agree. Every time I see one of those, it's just so readable. Yeah, yeah. I tried to do those.
All right. And did you post your stuff?
Yeah, I thought I turned it into the Airtable.
Oh,
Did you just
can you
want
just
to-
post them in Slack real quick?
Sure. Not bad.
That's all right.
Hey. Actually,
You
still,
are Airtable.
I missed the memo on that. I am sorry. All right, there's Bob.
Yeah, no one else submitted any. So, all right, let's look at Bob.
Yeah. Mine not crazy different either, but I guess, slightly unique in certain ways. But I went with some regex, which I really don't like usually doing regex, but it did seem like a good use for it. But you can probably see how I'm not very good at it. But anyway, so yeah, I brought it in, just made sure the message just had no extra spaces from the get-go on line 2, and then set a Boolean for, if it ends with a question mark. And then on 4, this is where I do think it is a little weird. I just did a test to see if it had capitals and then made sure there weren't numbers because comparing it to uppercase, because my understanding for some reason that uppercase would weed out the numbers, and it appears to. So then when I get to my if statements, I just kind of all in a row. I just, if it's all uppercase and has a question mark, it's the calm down response. If it's just all uppercase, it's about chill out. If it has a question mark, it's sure. And then on 9, I'm just checking to see like if after the trim, there's nothing there, it's fine, be that way, or
Yeah.
return whatever.
Yeah, I think I like this. If you are gonna go with an if setup, I think this one's a little easier to read because it's clear, like you're gonna fall through a set of ifs, right? Versus like what Ian had was like if one thing, then another thing was nested inside there, so you were returning. You had 2 possible returns out of the return block or the if block. Yeah. Nice.
I like that a lot, Seth.
Ifs could work.
Yeah, this was my reflex initially, but then I was like, I'll do a case.
Yeah.
'Cause I like.
I like the switch statement.
Yeah, Evan's getting experimental.
Mm-hmm. I kind of don't like switch statements. I don't really see why the reason for them. They just seem like kind of an extra layer on top of this for no reason.
I feel like we talked about it. Like it was like where we learned code didn't teach us switch statements, so they seem kind of like exotic, right? Or
Yeah.
something.
Also, they have like their own weird syntax, like that's like not the same as anything else in JavaScript.
Yeah.
Weird.
Like with the breaks and stuff.
The breaks, and they have like the colon like randomly, which nothing else really uses like that.
All right, Ian, you're up first on the matrix. Let me pull up the test suite. So given a string representing a matrix of numbers, return the row and column of that matrix. Okay, so new matrix 1 should have 0 rows, or row 0 would just contain 1. New lines, okay. So if we send 1, 2, new line 3, 4, row 1 should be 3, 4. Oops. All right, walk us through yours.
Yeah. So for in the rows, I split it at the new line, and then I mapped through each of those, called it a row, split it with a space, and then force that to a number. And then for the columns, let's see, this is a while ago. So takes the first row, maps through that, and calls each of those basically the start of a column. And then we get the index there also. And then within that, map through the rows and return the index. Yeah, return the index from that row. So then you get
crazy code.
Yeah. I did this one on the JavaScript track a couple months ago, so I just sort of translated it over. So
Okay.
and reading it now, it's hard for me to read it. So there's got to be a better way, I think.
Yeah, readability's low, but I'm not sure we're gonna see something better. I'll be curious. We should look at the community solutions.
I had looked at them after, and this was like a lot of them are kind of like this. Like I don't think there is like a really readable way to do it because it kind of breaks your brain because you're like you have to like map twice and stuff always, or at least loop twice.
Yeah.
Which is always like weird. I don't think I realized you could get the index out of maps though, which is interesting.
You can. Yeah. It's just an extra param you take in.
Because I used a for loop because I need that index.
Tyler, you're up.
Yeah, so fairly similar, just typing the matrix, and then in the constructor, just calling the function on it, parse string matrix. And similar to Ian, just splitting on the escape character, and then splitting again with the space, and then doing a conversion into a number with the little plus sign. And so that's basically the rows. And so just returning this dot matrix, and then for the columns, getting the first row, mapping over it. We only care about the index, so skipping the value, and then getting the mapping over that, calling that y, and then returning y in x's place and x in y's place, thus giving the columns.
Yeah. Huh. This is less performant, but maybe more readable. So the thing is, I think with Ian's, he set his rows and columns up in the constructor. Yeah. So this will just run once you give it a matrix. But if you keep coming in here and calling columns, it's going to keep running this code. But that's interesting.
This is that's the setup they gave us, was the get columns and rows, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just getters. Actually, with it being a getter, maybe it would save that output in TypeScript. I'll have to read up on that. Steph?
Yeah, mine is very similar to Ian's, and Ian actually was the one that tipped me off on the having an index in the map. Actually, Evan, sounds like I did the same thing as you originally, which I guess I'll get to. But I have my constructor for matching the matrix. I am using the getters, but on the get row, it's kind of the same thing where I'm taking it and I'm splitting at the new lines, and then I'm mapping, and then while mapping through, I'm splitting at the spaces, and then returning them as a number with the plus on the row, transforming into a number. And then, yeah, on line 11, with the column getter, originally, yeah, I was just doing a for loop. And then Ian was like, you can do an index on a map. And it's crazy, didn't realize that. But it definitely makes it more code golfy. But yeah, doing the same thing basically, where just like on the first iteration, I'm pulling off that index so that when I map through a second time, I can use like the first index to pull the first or whatever index it is, I guess, number off of the row and aligning it like a column.
Yeah.
So like, though, now that I know this, it's like I really probably will never need to use a for loop again, which is cool.
That is cool. For loops suck.
Yeah, I used the for loop.
Cool.
We can show the bad way now.
I like that I said that right before we opened your code.
That's fine. I agree. I just used the index. So yeah, same thing as them for the most part. Got my matrix, which I just like set as its own little thing to use, and then you map through it, and then split it, and then get each digit out and cast it as a number, and then get columns. I made a little array. So I did it differently because I did the thing, but I made an array, and then a for loop, and then just so I can get that index out. So we know that whichever, so the first row is going to be Like you go through the first one and it's the first one. The second column is going to be you want the second out of each one, and the third column is going to be the third out of each one. So
Yeah, that makes sense. So the interesting thing, the reason why map works well here is because like it's you don't have to set up an array, it'll just return an array, right? So it takes care of line 10 and 14 and does some of this for you.
Yeah. I feel like at the same time, like as I was changing that, I was like, this is cool because it does cut out a lot. Somehow just to like maybe my brain, which is slower sometimes, that is like more readable, being like, I have the array. I'm adding to the array. I don't know.
I agree that. Well, also, when you have like multiple maps next to each other, it just starts to look like dot 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 dot. Like,
yeah.
Split map. Oh, look at that.
good TypeScript in there.
Really wanted to use that regex for white space.
Yeah. For loop. What's this one look like? For loop.
Yeah, that's like what I did. Kind of seems like there are just like two solutions to this.
Yeah. Not a lot of stars either. I was curious. Gonna make me work for it. We didn't look at Bob Community Solutions.
Wow.
Look at that. Ramda. Okay. This feels like cheating.
Yeah, definitely feels like cheating.
I'm gonna bring in another library.
For this like pretty like straightforward problem.
Yeah. It's interesting though because we haven't really talked about like functional chaining and like this r.pipe is gonna call both of these and it'll take the output from this and pass it to this.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I'm guessing this r.cont is gonna check this and then return this.
Yeah, I assume it stands for condition.
Yeah, I would think. I haven't used it.
Definitely feels like using like a nuke to kill a fly a little bit.
Yeah. Alright. This one's kind of fun. They used the if statements, but they did set up functions.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's pretty
I hate that.
ternary in there for it. Yeah.
It's just like so gross.
Yeah. Yeah, look at this. Test and...
It's just like returning the index of the answer string, which is weird.
Yeah, I don't love this one. I feel like it took like a minute or two to understand what's going on in here.
I hope Boba Hop isn't watching.
There's the Ericsson solution. I really like that one.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's look.
Basically, it's similar to the one that uses the if statement, just but the naming is real nice.
Yeah.
Wait,
Is there more to this somewhere?
Yeah, further down.
yeah,
That's it.
these are all the functions. But you can
So-
return. This is a ternary, right?
One big ternary, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I've
all
not-
a tournament.
I've not seen it written this way.
Ternary
is-
chaining.
You're just
Yeah.
like returning different things. Like your return is for all of them.
Yeah. Don't do this.
I mean, it's my least favorite one.
No, it's fine. I mean, I like the readability here, right? I think you're totally right, but this is a bear to try to chain through this logic and find a bug.
Mm.
I've watched someone do it one time in a code interview. Didn't work well. All right. What is up for next time? Scrabble score?
I don't know.
Let's do raindrops and Scrabble score. Alright, let me check my calendar. Yeah, we'll do the 17th. Alright, see everybody next time.
Later.